Before we begin tonight's story, I want you to breathe gently, slowly, because this is not just a Bible story. It is a reminder that God still speaks, even when the world is noisy, even when your heart feels tired, even when you feel too small for His attention. Tonight, let your heart be soft. Let your spirit be open, because the same God who spoke to a little boy in the silence of the night is still speaking today. Now, listen as the story unfolds. My name is Eli. For many years, I served as the high priest in the house of God at Shiloh. My eyes had grown dim with age. My strength was not what it used to be, and my walk had slowed from a proud stride to a gentle, tired shuffle. But this story is not about me. It is about a boy, a small boy, quiet, humble, gentle, yet chosen in a way none of us expected. His name was Samuel. Samuel's story began long before he was born. His mother Hannah was a woman with a broken heart, childless, mocked, misunderstood. But she did not fight people. She fought her battles on her knees. One day she prayed a prayer so deep, so painfully honest, that heaven stopped to listen. "If you give me a son," she whispered through tears, "I will give him back to you, all the days of his life." God heard, God answered, and Samuel was born. When he was old enough to walk, Hannah brought him to the house of God, placed his tiny hand into mine and said, "Teach him, guide him, raise him for the Lord." And just like that, Samuel's life became a seed planted in the soil of God's plan. Samuel grew up with simple routines. He swept the floors, he lit lamps, he polished bowls, he prepared incense, he carried messages, he watched, he listened, and he learned. He slept in a small space near the holy place, close to the Ark of the Covenant, the symbol of God's presence on earth. Samuel was still a child, but his heart was soft, his spirit was calm, and God's eyes were already on him. Little did he know that heaven was preparing to interrupt his life. On the night everything changed, the tabernacle was unusually quiet. The lamp of God was still burning, a sign that the presence of the Lord was still with Israel. I was lying in my room, my old bones resting, my mind drifting between sleep and prayer. Samuel was lying on his mat, covered with a small blanket, his breathing steady and peaceful. Outside, the stars shimmered. The night was deep. Silence covered the land like a gentle cloth. But heaven was not silent. Suddenly, a voice cut through the stillness, soft, clear, gentle, calling a name. "Samuel." His eyes opened. He sat up quickly. He thought I was calling. He ran to me with small, hurried footsteps. "Here I am," he said. "You called me." I opened my tired eyes and shook my head. "No, my son, I did not call you. Go back to sleep." Samuel nodded and returned to his mat. He pulled the blanket over his shoulders and closed his eyes. But the night was not finished. Again, the voice came. "Samuel." Again he rose. Again he ran to me, his feet tapping against the cold stone floor. "Here I am. You called me." Again I shook my head gently. "No, Samuel, I did not call you. Go, lie down." He obeyed, though confusion clouded his young mind. Why would he hear a voice when no one was speaking? But heaven was drawing closer. Just as his eyes began to close, the voice came again. "Samuel." This time he hesitated. He felt something, not fear, not confusion, but a strange warmth. A presence. He ran again. "Here I am. You truly called me." This time I sat up slowly. Something stirred in my spirit, something I had not felt in many years, a whisper of the divine. And suddenly I understood. God was calling the boy. Not a prophet, not a warrior, not a king, a child. I placed my hand on Samuel's shoulder. "Go. Lie down," I said softly. "And if he calls you again, say this: 'Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.'" Samuel's eyes widened. He nodded slowly, his small face glowing with awe and fear. He returned to his mat, his heart pounding like a drum. The air in the room felt different, thicker, warmer. Holy heaven was in the room with him. And then, not just a voice, a presence, a light, a warmth like a fire that did not burn. The Lord came and stood there, calling as before, "Samuel, Samuel." The boy rose, trembling gently, and with a soft, brave whisper he said, "Speak, for your servant is listening." Heaven opened, and God spoke. He revealed secrets. He revealed warnings. He revealed the future of Israel, and he placed a mantle and a spiritual garment over the shoulders of a child. That night, a prophet was born. When dawn came, Samuel's face was pale. His eyes carried a weight far greater than his young age. He was afraid to tell me the message. It was heavy. It was painful. It was about judgment on my household. But I took his hands and said the words he dreaded. "Samuel, tell me everything. Hide nothing from me." With a trembling voice, he told me every word, and I bowed my head and whispered, "He is the Lord. Let him do what is right." Samuel learned something that day. God's voice is beautiful, but it is also powerful. It can comfort, and it can correct. From that moment, all Israel knew that God had raised a prophet among them. Samuel grew, his wisdom grew, his courage grew, and the voice of God continued to guide him. He later became the prophet who anointed Israel's first king, led the nation through battle, restored spiritual order, and anointed David, the man after God's heart. But everything, all of it, began on that quiet night when heaven whispered, "Samuel." As you close your eyes tonight, remember this. God does not need a loud world to speak loudly to your spirit. He can speak in your room. He can speak in your silence. He can speak in your weakness. He can speak in your confusion. And just like Samuel, every great calling begins with simple words. Speak, Lord, your servant is listening. May your heart hear him. May your nights be filled with peace. May your spirit stay open. Good night, and may God speak to you tonight.